Welcome home. This is the Irish Family History Podcast from the Irish Head School at the Irish Roots Cafe, where every day's a holiday and there's always room for one more. Come right this way. Have a seat with me today in that corner booth. This is a 136th time we'll be doing that for this podcast. Sweeney, clear the floor. Katie, bar that door. Molly, put on another pot of Irish coffee and bring out those Irish dancers. It's time we get this show on the road. Another full house today, not a chair to spare. I'm Mike OLaughlin, your host. You can reach me on my webpage at irishroots.com, and be sure to check out the written show notes on my blog at irishroots.com, and you can search all of our books and videos there too. And we're adding new things all the time, so be sure to be aware of that. And remember, you can phone 816-256-3360 to leave your comments on my recorder. Try it, you'll like it. Now, among today's topics, number 1, lamb is the Irish family of the day. 2, Irish Books and Periodicals online. 3, free Irish language newspaper. 4, Irish County podcasts are launching. 5, why Irish children are the happiest in the European Union. 6, the top Irish Elvis impersonator named. They did that up in Donegal. 7, an Irish word podcast is launching. And 8, County Wexford Genealogy. Well, that brings us to our next little segment here, and that's the Notes for the Week. That's where I share what's going on here at the Irish Roots Cafe and the head school that we've started, and sort of use this as the master line to keep track of everything that's going on. And we've got a few notes this week. We've started up, you don't know it yet, but we've started up Irish County podcasts, and that's our 7th broadcast series, and we're covering history and families and tourist notes for each county in Ireland, along with our personal experiences. And Peter Adams is sure doing a good job at that, and I'm there to help him along. But he's really hosting the thing well, and I'm I guess you'd say co-host. And we're recording those now, so they're going to be pretty good. Number 2, we're also starting some Irish language type podcast. They're going to be a little different than most. That'll be our 8th broadcast series when we release it. And that's for those who are curious about the Irish language, its history, spelling problems, how to sing a simple song in Irish if you wanted to. And it's great for those interested in language and culture. And we start with the simple and fun things we've learned over time. And you don't have to start out speaking Irish, that's for sure. But it's going to help you understand a little bit about it. And let me see, number 3, from the National Library of Ireland, I got a note today that Sources has been launched. And that's got 196,000 records so far. And that's materials that are at institutions around the world, books and periodicals. We'll have more about that in just a little bit. Well, now we're going to talk about the let me see, it'll be the 1 minute podcast, I think we're going to call it. And yeah, that's it. And hey, have you ever heard of the word Napper Tandy? It's in a song. I got an email just the other day. They say, Mike, who was Napper Tandy? And the song went something like, I met with Napper Tandy and he took me by the hand. And he said, how's dear old Ireland and how does she stand? She's the most distressful country that you have ever seen. They're hanging men and women there for wearing of the green. Well, that's where the biggest fame of the name came, and he was actually a comrade of Wolfe Tone in the 1798 rebellion. That's another one of those rebellions you need to learn about to really understand Irish history. And Napper Tandy was the son of an Irish shopkeeper or merchant in Dublin, and he helped Wolfe Tone, who was a Protestant and started the United Irishmen up in Northern Ireland, up in Belfast. And here's an excerpt from the podcast we did on him today, so that might help you understand a little bit more. Well, we'll talk about another fleet of ships that left under the direction of Napper Tandy. And, of course, Wolfe Tone had said he was a nice old man and very respected, but then he tried to downgrade him a bit. But Tandy ended up leaving and taking some ships, French ships and troops, up there around Donegal. They landed and raised the flag and waited for news of the rebellion to reach them. And the problem was the rebellion was just about over. There wasn't anything going on, so they left. And now one story says they captured 2 British ships as they left. But at any rate, he got to safety, or what he thought was safety. He reached the town of Hamburg, which was supposed to be a free city. Well, the British were so enraged at this guy that they pulled some strings, and they had him arrested anyway. And that got Napoleon himself involved. And he says, no, you must release this man. So what they did was very political. They tried him and convicted him in England. And then they exiled him to France, more or less is what it came to be. He received a hero's welcome in France, lived there for about a year, and it was 1802, 1803, he died there, but he died a hero there, and there's various opinions of him in Ireland, but I tell you what, he was despised in England itself. Well, that's a little bit about Napper Tandy. That's from one of our 17th century podcasts from the Irish Hedgerow podcast that came out just a month or so ago. I thought that might help answer the question. And now we really have to move on to the book of the month this month. And we've picked, just because we haven't talked about County Wexford in a while, I think they've got an opera over there in County Wexford that's sort of famous too. A lot of people go to. At least that's what my friends tell me. And we're going to pick the County Wexford Genealogy and Family History Notes book. That's part of our 32, we've got 34 or 36 volumes in that set. I can't remember how many I put together now, but this is the book on County Wexford. The Book of Irish Family, Great and Small, has family histories from Wexford too, really from every county in Ireland. And this little volume here, this one is just on County Wexford and County Wexford families and which families were granted coat of arms at that time by the government of the day. If we found any genealogy notes on those families, I included that. We also include censuses. If the census existed, we put it in there, like the census of 1659. And we did that on County Wexford. And what do we find? Well, if you look let's take a look at that census and in the town of Wexford and see just what was said about the principal Irish names and their number. And it said, Murphy, there were 14 of those. And Sennett, there were 11 Sennett families, 7 Welsh families, 13 Cod families, 6 Doyle families. And by the name of White, there were 6. And Connors, there were 5. Furlong, there were 5. Now, that's a name you don't hear often, but that's classified as Irish. And Redmond, there were 5. And Devereux, there were 5. So that shows you just what part. They were in the town of Wexford at that time, and there's so much confusion about records in the 17th century in Ireland that it sure helps to have something to tell us where the families were or were sent to or were pushed to. And, that was a very, very rough time with all the wars and Irish fighting Irish. And, you had King Charles, and then you had Cromwell come in there, and he was very hard on Wexford in the 17th century. And we also see, if you take a look, some individuals like James Rowe and John Walton on the West Ward and Ambrose Andrews on the South Ward and so on. So those are some good examples of what you find in those books. Hey, now we know what time it is now. It's time to raise our eyes skyward and ask for help. Here are today's Magnificent Seven. Number 1, renewing member Donald J. McCrory of Overland Park, Kansas. Your Families of County Clare has shipped. And Donald's searching for the O'Donnells of True Castle in County Clare and Ballynalacken, the O'Brien line that's also in County Clare. Of course, County Clare, that's the old domain or old geographical division of Thomond. And that's also where Brian Boru happened to settle and become so strong. We talked about that in our history podcast on Brian Boru. Number 2, welcome new member Gary Pratt of Murfreesboro, Tennessee, searching for Wilson and Beatty. Number 3, Marilyn Reiling of Council Bluff, Iowa. Your County Clare genealogy book and Book of Irish Families, Great and Small, has shipped. Number 4, welcome new member Connie C. Stringer of Marietta, Georgia. Always good to hear from Georgia. Searching for one she says, I descend from John O'Shiel and Alice Apsley. They married in 1688 in Middlesex, London, England, and looking for John O'Shiel's father and others. Number 5, Molly Finnerty of Garden City, New York. Your Families of County Kerry book has shipped. Number 6, new member Carrie Shaw of Savannah, Georgia. Searching for the Lucy family of County Cork. Welcome as a new member. And number 7, William Truscott, Your Conquest of Ireland set, Donegal Books, and Derry book has shipped. Thank you for the fine order. That reminds me to thank each and every member for helping us put all this together. We've now got 8 broadcasts, different series online, and I'm relying on you for help. Every membership, every book ordered helps me, so I do appreciate it, and now is the time for the Irish family name of the day. We've got a scarcer one today, and that would be Lamb. And today's family history is in honor of Jean Davies of Caldwell, Kansas. And, you know, there's several related spellings of the name. I bet most of you who've been listening for a while could take some of those and put them in line right now. Lamb, L-A-M-B, would be a common spelling, but there's variants. You can make it just L-A-M, drop that B, and you can double the M, make it L-A-M-M, or make it L-M-B-E. You can add an E on the end of that name, which was very common for certain names that ends in consonants, especially in the 17th century records that I've seen. And what else do we have here? Let me see. Oh, D. Lambert and Lamberton and Lambin. So there's all kinds of directions you can go with that. But most of the name are probably going to remain pretty close to that spelling. And it's not necessarily an Irish name, you know, now. Just because you find it in Ireland, it depends on what year you're talking about. They could have settled in Ireland and become more Irish than the Irish themselves. But let's take a look. You know, most of the name are said to be of English origins when you got in Ireland. And it's also possible that in an isolated instance, somebody could have translated their Irish name to the English form of Lamb. And, of course, there's obvious possibilities of shortening names like Lambert or Lamberton that could have occurred as well. Now, note the possible connection of the Lamb and Lambert families in the Irish Book of Arms, as we'll talk about in a little bit. And also, you know, we looked at our book, The Milesian Families of Ireland, and the name of Lamb is given as coming from England and settling in Donegal, but Lamberton is said to have come from France in that one source. And, you know, you got to trust but verify, but that's just one example. And Lamb, we also see, is given in the 19th century birth index in County Dublin. And just about every family over time can be found in Dublin. It had a great attraction for maybe for some of the wilder folks of the family. Might have want to go away to that big city, and how can you bring them back to the farm after they've gone and seen gay Dublin or gay Paris? Or at least that's what they said during World War I think it was. Now we're going to take a quick look at the Irish family coats of arms there for Lamb. And what do you know? They are shown in the Irish Book of Arms for a Penistone Lamb, Lambe, who was a Viscount in Kilmore, and he was married to the daughter of Sir Ralph Milbank in 1769. Now, the illustration of these arms shows a couple of lions on each side of those coats of arms, and there's 2 stars across the middle of that coat. And we also see 3 little decorations there, too. And there might be a connection with the name Lambert, because a lot of those coat of arms sort of look similar there. Some of the 3 designs, I'd say, would. So that's worth checking out. Hey, remember, coming up later, we've got Irish Books and Periodicals found worldwide online from the library in Ireland. Let's take a look now at the website of the week. We've got the Cliffs of Moher, Cliffs of Moher, Bunratty, and Burren video. And you know that the O'Laughlins used to be Lords of the Burren, so that caught my eye. But that's one that's on YouTube, and it's had quite a few views, so I thought I'd put it up there if you're interested or homesick, or if you're thinking of traveling and you'll be traveling through Clare, you can get a little advance notice. And then for our family name of the day, we found the Lamb Family Genealogy Forum. And it looks like there's more than one Lamb family on that, so we've got that posted on our blog as well. All you have to do is go and click. And number 3, those Irish books online, a digital directory of Irish studies. That's our 3rd pick. I've got a link to that on the blog as well. And we'll also talk about that in a second here under our next section, which is going to be the curious news and notes. And I want to remind you one more time to keep your eyes open for what we're doing on these podcasts. We're adding 2 more, so it's going to make 8 altogether we have out there to offer you to not only trace your family, but understand the heritage and history. And we all welcome your support and help. And if you want to participate on any of these podcasts, all you have to do is call in or send me an email, and we'll help you out there. I've gotten several folks wanting to get the Irish Song and Recitation podcast going again, and I've got enough to get the next season started. I just need to find the time, and we'll do a little bit with that. We'll talk a little bit about the Sean Nose operations and how you sing Sean Nose. What's the difference between Sean Nose singing and regular singing, and what your ancestors might have sound like if they sung a song 200 or 300 years ago coming in from the country there. Wouldn't that be interested? I bet you can do it too, and I just might pitch in a song or 2 myself. That's if I can get my practicing up now. Well, we're coming up towards the end of this segment, the curious news and notes part, and I think, what will we do? We're just about done. I might mention that we were looking at that Lamb name, and I passed this up, but we got a few seconds. We found that name several times. It's in our Family of Kerry book. It's in our Dublin book, our Donegal book, and our Galway book, and, of course, the Birth Index of Ireland. So there's plenty of places to look, and it's not so rare. It's not so rare that you can't find some help. But now you know what time it is. It's time for Curious News and Notes. Well, what do we have here today? Let's take a look at all kinds of different things that are happening in Ireland. Number 1, the Bishop of Killaloe, Willie Walsh, is questioning the right of women to be ordained in a direct challenge to the Pope's recent little ruling, I guess they're saying. And he also questions why Protestants are not allowed the Eucharist. So there's all kinds of changes and debate going on. And he's seated in Ennis, County Clare, Ireland. And that's one place I always stop in Ireland. That's Ennis when I go each year. Number 2, there's also going to be a free Irish language newspaper distributed, or magazine, every Wednesday in Ireland. And that is the largest Irish language newspaper around. And they had a distribution of 4,500 by earlier reports, and now it's going to be distributed to 152,000 or more through the Irish Independent. And I guess that means they'll stick that supplement right in the Irish Independent, and it's going to go to all those households in Ireland. Hey, that's pretty good. That'll give the language a little bit of a boost. Number 3, we talked about those Irish books that are becoming instantly available, or the index instantly available through a new service that was put together by the National Library of Ireland, and it's the Sources Database for Irish Research. And it covers the United States and also holdings in Britain and South Africa and Australia and New Zealand, and as well as, of course, the records in Ireland. So any of you serious researchers looking for new sources, this might be just the right place to start. Number 4, Ireland is going to spend twice as much, the people in Ireland are going to spend twice as much as Europeans on Christmas this year. And they say, not so much on presents so much, but as in socializing in pubs and restaurants. There's an article on that in the Examiner. And now we talk about the Irish spending more on Christmas than anybody else. Well, guess what else we found in a separate study of 20,000 children? The Irish were said to be happier and healthier, that's ages 11 to 15, than the other children in the EU. And they were also more apt to engage in physical activities rather than computer times and computer games. There could be a lesson there. Number 6, Tom Gibson has been crowned the King of Elvis impersonators in Ireland at the County Donegal competition. So he's going to go on to represent Ireland in the first ever Elvis World Cup. Now, won't that be something? I saw a little picture of him there. That was from Irish Culture and Customs. I see, and there was a little picture of him there, and hey, it looked like a good shot. It looked like he could have been Elvis himself. But you know how those things go. Trust but verify. Well, that's going to just about wind it up for the day. What have we got going on here? Well, we got till about 15 more seconds. I'm learning how to handle this new operating system here, this new recording system, and it's given me a few extra seconds here and cutting a few other seconds off there. So you'll just bear with me, and I'll have this down to a science after 2 or 3 episodes. And of course, we're still trying to get a new computer for me and for Peter, so we can keep this thing going. All 8 podcasts, all 8 broadcasts, and it'll sure help. So we do accept donations and kind words at all times. Well, that's going to do it for the podcast today. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back with some more next week, or maybe 2 weeks, but we'll be here for sure. And if this one isn't playing, one of the others will be playing. So make sure you've got your requests in, and we'll try to answer whatever questions you might have. Now, I guess it's time to say, remember to send your comments by clicking the contact link on our webpage at irishroots.com, or send by mail to our American address at the Irish Roots Cafe, Box 7575, Kansas City, Missouri, 64116. Leave your message or report on things in your part of the world when you call my phone recorder at 816-256-3360. Skype me at the Irish Roots Cafe. I'm on MySpace, Facebook, Twitter, Irish Central. And remember, members foot the bill, so they get first priority, but we're open to all. And by the way, a big thank you to all of our members. And away.